Today we are witness to one of the greatest upsets in the history of the championships at Wimbledon, and that was the stunning loss of Rafael Nadal, the number 5 ranked player in the world, and the recent French Open champion, to the 135th ranked Belgian Steven Darcis. Wasn't so long ago that we were praising Nadal off his French Open victory, coming back off injuries, missing 2 straight majors, and winning the French in historic fashion, getting his 8th Grand Slam title at that particular event, which no man has ever done. And then 15 days later to bow out in the first round of Wimbledon. And I may sound like, crazy when I say this next statement, but I can't say I'm shocked. I can't say I'm that shocked that he went out. For one, Steven Darcis is an aggressive player. He fits the mold of the kind of player that can take out Nadal. Because you look at historically the kind of players that give Rafa the most trouble. They hit big from the baseline, they got big serves. Darcis has both. Number one. Number two, you historically look at Nadal's results at Wimbledon. 2005, losing to Gilles Muller. 2006, almost getting beat by Robert Kendrick. You look at 2010-11, had a couple tough matches in the first round. 2012, lost to Lucas Russell. It's been proven that to beat Nadal at Wimbledon, you got to catch him in the first week. Unless you're a Djokovic or a Federer and you got to hope to catch Nadal in the first week of Wimbledon. Because if you can catch him the first 2 or 3 days when the grass is slick, there's not much wear on it, and it's more like a grass court than a clay court or even a hard court, you can beat Nadal. I didn't get a chance to watch any of the match because I was working. I did get a chance to see some of the highlights, and I saw the match statistics after it was over. And I was following on my phone while I was at work. And the way that I look at it, I know exactly what happened in this match. Nadal came out tentative, did not seem to play comfortably. I think he took Rosso a little bit lightly, thought that he was in command from the start and would win. But you look at the statistic, the big statistic that gives away what happened in this match. 2 of them, actually. 57% and plus 21. 57% was the number of was the percentage of second serve points won by Steven Darcis, which is an incredibly high percentage to win against Nadal. Usually Nadal takes away more than half of his opponent's second serve points. Number 2 is plus 21. In terms of unforced errors, they were even with 24. Darcis had 21 more winners than Rafael Nadal did. You know what that's a sign of? Nerves. Nadal hadn't played a grass court tournament. He'd only played probably a few times on grass between Wimbledon and the French Open and wasn't acclimated to the conditions. Darcis is a Belgian, played a few grass court matches the last 2 weeks, and he was ready. Nadal wasn't. Simple as that. And you saw what happened. Nadal was a little bit under his best, and Darcis took advantage and pummeled the ball past him. There's no more obvious way you can put it. I was watching that, I was updating that match on my phone at work, and I can't say that I'm shocked that Darcis beat him. Straight sets, yes, that does surprise me, I'll admit that. But let's put it this way. The first 2 or 3 days at Wimbledon, Nadal was very, very vulnerable. It's kind of funny. He has 2 Wimbledons, and one of them where he beat Federer in the final. And yet, I still think that historically, Andy Roddick is the greater player on grass. Because you look at how they played on grass, Roddick had a big serve, a big forehand, could win points early, play a little defense, but more or less could finish off opponents. If Nadal plays a guy who hits somewhat big, and he plays okay in the first week of Wimbledon, Nadal's going to go at least 5 sets. And we saw it with Russell last year. Nadal can make all the excuses he wants and blame his knee. I watched that match, and I watched the highlights from this match today. His knees weren't the issue. His opponent playing better than him was. The reason why Nadal is not a true grass court player is because of these kind of matches. Nadal only does historically that well at Wimbledon is if it's one of 2 things. If it's when the courts are still fresh like they are Monday through Wednesday, now because of all the baseline play, and he plays a shit opponent, he beats him early, or if it's the second week and the courts are worn down. Because you look at what he's done against top players. When the courts are worn down the second week of Wimbledon, he's beaten Federer, he's beaten Djokovic, he's beaten Hewitt, he's beaten Murray, he's beaten all those guys. Tsonga, Soderling. But early on at Wimbledon, when the grass is still slick and it's fresh and it's not really pounded in there and it's not really worn and it's still, legitimately like grass should be, Nadal's in deep shit. If Federer played Nadal on a slick grass court, I'm talking like right at the start of Wimbledon, Federer would beat him in a heartbeat. That's what it is. It's not Nadal's knees, because he was fine at the French. It's not Nadal, not having confidence. He'd won 7 of the 9 tournaments he'd entered this year. It wasn't that, Darcis was inexperienced. He'd been on the tour for a while and played more grass court matches this year. It's simply a matter of fact that Darcis went out, had a big game, took advantage of the slick conditions, and kicked Nadal's ass. Simple as that. Now, I would consider myself a Federer fan. And I can say, watching Nadal go out, most of the Federer fans rejoiced. I actually in a way, I got kind of upset because I wanted to see Federer beat Nadal. But hey, Nadal's out. Fed fans will take it. No, I don't dislike Nadal. I respect him. He's a great player and he's a very classy young man. But, I want Federer to win Wimbledons. I want Federer to win majors. Roddick's out. I'm rooting for Federer now. Roddick's no longer playing? Go Raj. Now, if you look at the draw going forward, from this part of the draw, and you look at what the second round holds, the winner of this match, you look at the 8 remaining players in this section. You have Stephen Darcis, obviously, versus Polish Lukasz Kubot. Then you have Frenchman Stéphane Robert versus other Frenchman Benoit Paire, the number 25 seed. And the winner of that will be in the fourth. One of those 4 will be in the 4th round. And that'll take on one of these 4. 18th seeded American John Isner, Frenchman Adrian Manarino, German Dustin Brown, or Aussie Leighton Hewitt, who's won Wimbledon before and been number 1 in the world. I got to put my money on John Isner. Simply because the grass is still slick, his serve is enormous. He makes 1 or 2 returns, it's going to be impossible to beat him. I think Isner will do the USA proud and make the quarters this year with the tough draw. Federer, you look at Federer's draw, the only guy that really can there's only a couple of guys that can give him trouble through to the semis. Radek Stepanek, the Czech, he's a good grass court player. He's been in the top 10 before. Leighton Hewitt's beaten Federer on grass in their careers. You look, John Isner beat him in 2012 in Davis Cup in best of 5. That's about it. And none of those guys are going to beat Federer. So looking through this section, Federer's got an easy road in the semis. He just can't get complacent. But what do I think this means for Nadal going forward? Absolutely nothing. If he's smart, what he'll do, he'll go back to Mallorca, take a few days off, relax, whatever, then get back to playing again, get back to grinding, and he'll get ready for the hardcourt season in the U.S. Open. Think about it. The guy didn't play Montreal, didn't play Canada, didn't play Cincinnati, and didn't play the U.S. Open. A potential 4,000 points he gains if he wins those 3 tournaments. He didn't play the year-end championships, he didn't play the one in Shanghai, he didn't play the Masters in Paris. So, you look at that schedule, Nadal, if he wins all those tournaments, if he cleans house and wins them all, he'll finish the year number 1. Will he? Probably not. But, if he's smart, he'll get back to playing on hardcourt and getting ready for the upcoming summer circuit. This loss should do absolutely nothing for Rafa fans. They shouldn't fret and think their great hero is in dire straits. It's not like it was last year at Wimbledon losing to Russell. Losing to Russell was worse than this, in my opinion. Because it really showed how vulnerable Nadal is. And he kind of withdrew a little bit and didn't play the rest of the year. This match, he'll just dust himself off. He'll realize what happened. He'll correct his problems. He'll be back on the hardcourt circuit and be just fine. But who I think is going to win this tournament? Federer won it last year. I'm going with Federer again. That's all I got to say. See ya.